Good morning, everyone. In the last session, we discussed about what is framework, what are the advantages with framework, what is struts framework, and what we can do by using struts framework. Then we discussed about what is Hibernate framework and what can we do by using this Hibernate framework, and what is layered architecture, how a project will be developed in the company, what type of layers will be available. We discussed. Then we started discussion related to Spring framework. Spring is called as application development framework. We can develop all the layers of the application by using Spring. End-to-end application development can be done by using Spring framework. Then we started discussion related to Spring architecture. Spring is not a single framework. Spring is developed in modular fashion. There are several modules available in the Spring framework. Now, all the modules are loosely coupled. All the modules are independent. It's not mandatory to use all the modules available in the Spring. Whatever the module is required for your project, you can take only that module and you can use it in your project. So what are the modules available? Core module is available. Context module, AOP module, JDBC module, ORM module, WebMVC, REST, security, batch, cloud, data. So like this, there are several modules available in the Spring framework. So every module having some purpose. If you want to develop a web application, then you need to go for WebMVC module. If you want to develop distributed applications, then you will go for REST module. If you want to develop persistence layer, data JPA module, or Spring ORM, or Spring JDBC. If you want to separate primary logics and cross-cutting logics, then you can go for Spring AOP module. If you want to manage configurations in the application, then Spring context module. If you want to develop your application with microservices architecture, then Spring Cloud module is available. If you want to secure your application with authentication and authorization, then you need to go for Spring Security module. So for all these modules, the base module is Spring Core module. If you want to work with any module in the Spring framework, then first you need to understand the core concepts of the Spring, right? So if you want to learn Java, first you need to understand the core Java, the core concepts of the Java. What is oops, right? And what is array, what is a string, what is collections, exception handling, multi-threading, IO streams, annotations, generics, wrapper classes. These all are core concepts of the Java. Once you learn the core concepts, then you can learn advanced Java, you can learn frameworks, and you can develop applications. Similarly, if you want to learn the Spring framework, first you need to learn Spring Core module. That is base module of the Spring framework. It is providing fundamental concepts of the Spring. What are those fundamental concepts of the Spring, guys? What are those fundamental? What are the fundamental concepts of the Spring Core module? IOC container and dependency injection. The core concepts of the Spring, IOC container and dependency injection. Now let us see what is the Spring Core. It is base module in Spring framework. It is base module in Spring framework. Core module is providing fundamental concepts of the Spring. Fundamental concepts of the Spring. What are those concepts? First one is IOC container. Second one is dependency injection. We can also call it as IOC and DI. Very famous interview question. What is IOC and what is DI? What is IOC and what is DI? Very famous interview question. That IOC and DI concepts are available as part of the core module. If you want to work with any module in the Spring framework, first you need to be strong in the Spring Core module. Now, sir, what is this core module? Why we need to talk about this core module? Now you see, when we go for any application development, how many classes will be available in the application, guys? Can we develop a project with only one class? Can we develop a project with only one class? No. Our project contains multiple classes. Some classes we are going to call as controller classes. Some classes we are going to call as service classes. Some classes we are going to call as DAO classes. A project will be developed with multiple classes. Some classes we are going to call as controllers. Some classes we are going to call as controller classes. Then some classes we are going to call as service classes, and some classes we are going to call as DAO classes. So now, what is the responsibility of the controller? What is the responsibility of the controller? It is responsible to handle user request and response. Controller is responsible to handle user request and response. Now, assume that in my project there are 100 controllers are available. My project contains 100 pages. For every page, one controller class is available. 100 controller classes are available. Next one, service classes are available. What is the meaning of service class? What is the meaning of service class, guys? Come on. Service classes are responsible for business logic development. We will write the business logic in the application by using service classes. Assume that in my project there are 50 services are available. So to implement the business logic, I have created 50 classes with the business logic. Then similarly, in my project there are 200 tables are available. When there are 200 tables available, then we are going to create 200 DAO classes. We are going to create 200 DAO classes. So total, there are 350 classes available in the project. So 100 controller classes are available, 50 service classes are available, 200 DAO classes are available. And here, all the classes are independent classes. Our classes are dependent on other classes. Classes are independent or they are dependent? Dependent. When you send a request, request will go to controller. Controller will talk to service class. Service class will talk to DAO class in order to perform the operation. When user want to log in, when you click a login button, the request will go to the controller class. Controller will take the data from the form. Controller will call the service method. Service method will call the DAO method. DAO method will talk to database. So here classes are dependent or classes are independent. Classes are dependent or classes are independent. Classes are dependent. What is the meaning of dependent? What is the meaning of classes are dependent? Guys, 1 minute. What is the meaning of classes are dependent? What is the meaning of classes are dependent? One class method should call another class method. That is called dependency. One class method should call the another class method. That is called dependency. Now tell me how one class method can call another class method in the Java. How? Now here in my project there are 350 classes are available. 100 classes I'm taking as controller classes. 50 classes I'm taking as service classes. 200 classes I'm taking as DAO classes. 350 classes are available. Controller class should talk to service class. Service class should talk to DAO class. That means controller method should call the service method. Service method should call the DAO method. That is called dependency. One class method is responsible to call another class method. One class method is dependent on the another class method. That is called dependency. Now, when we are developing a project, our classes will have a dependency with the other classes. When the classes are having a dependency, how we are going to develop the classes? How one Java class method can access another Java class method? How one Java class method can access another Java class method? How one Java class method can access another Java class method? There are two ways available. one Java class method can access another Java class method in two ways by creating object. What is the first one, guys? By creating the object. We can say the first one without creating also we can access by extending properties. What is that, guys? By extending properties and by creating object. So this is called is a relation. This is called has a relation. If one Java class wants to communicate with the another Java class, then there are two options available for us. One is called is a relation. Another one is called as a relation. Are you able to follow me? Now, let me take a simple example to demonstrate on that. So I have a class called engine class, guys. Assume that there is a class called engine class is available. Now, inside the engine class, there is a start method is available. Engine is one class. Inside the engine, there is a start method. That method is having a return type called integer. If it is returning positive number, that means engine is started. If it is returning negative number, engine is not started. That is the meaning of that integer. There is a class called engine class. Inside that engine class, I have one method called start method. Start method is having a return type. What is that return type? Integer. It can represent positive number and negative number. If it is returning a positive number, my engine started successfully. If it is returning a negative number, there is a problem with the engine. That is the understanding. Are you clear? Now, I am having another class called car class. There is a class called car class is available. Inside the car class, I am having one method called drive method. I'm having a method called drive method. Now, tell me. So, in order to drive the car, what is required for the car? In order to drive the car, what is required for the car? Engine is required. Okay. Now here, I want my target is to drive a car. My target is to drive a car. Inside the car class, I'm taking a drive method. In order to drive the car, that car should have a engine. Now, can I say car is dependent on the engine? Engine is dependent on the car. Car is dependent on the engine. Car is dependent on the engine. If I want to drive the car, I need to start the engine. If I want to drive the car, then I need to start the engine. So when it comes to Spring framework, we are going to call this class as a target. This class is called as a target because I want to drive a car. My target is to drive a car. That's why car class I'm going to call as a target class. In order to drive the car, my car is dependent on the engine. That's why engine class we are going to call as dependent. So target class is available and dependent class is available. Now, how car class can call the engine class start method? These are two different classes. Car is one class, engine is one class. Car class having a drive method, engine class having a start method. If I want to drive the car, then I need to start the engine. If I want to drive the car, then I need to start the engine. How many ways one Java class method can call another Java class method? There are two ways available. There are two ways available. What are those two ways? One is we can extend the properties from the engine so that subclass can access superclass method. Here, my car class can extend the properties from the engine. Through inheritance, one class can access the methods of another class. Easier relationship. Easier relationship. And what is the second option is available? My car class can create the object for the engine. That is called has a relationship. My car class can create the object for the engine. So we have easier relationship as well as has a relationship. Guys, can you call the admin once? Right. So car class can access the engine class by using easier relationship or by using as a relationship. Which one is recommended? Which one is recommended? Come on. Which one is recommended? Easier recommended or has a is recommended? కొత్త బ్యాటరీ ఇది పని చేయట్లేదు, కట్ అవుతుంది వాయిస్. ఇది రీఛార్జ్ చేసిందా? మరి పని చేయట్లేదు. ఇది ఇంకోటి, ఇది లోపల పెట్టు. ఏం కట్ అవుతుంది వాయిస్ మధ్యలో. గైస్ 1 minute. కవర్ది. ఈరోజు వెళ్ళి హెడ్సెట్ కొనుక్కోండి, చెవులు బాగా నొప్పి పడుతున్నాయి. Right, guys. Now, one Java class should communicate with the another Java class. If one Java class wants to communicate with the another Java class, we are having two options. One is called easier relation. Another one is called has a relation. Currently, I'm talking about only two classes. But tomorrow, when you go for the project, how many classes will be available? Hundreds, thousands of classes will be available. One class is dependent on the another class. When one class is dependent on the another class, one Java class method should call the another Java class method. To call another Java class method, we are having easier relationship option and we have has a relationship option. Which one is recommended? Which one is recommended? Both are not recommended. Which one is recommended? Both are not recommended. If you use easier relationship or if you use has a relationship, your classes will become tightly coupled. What will happen, guys? If you use inheritance or if you use object creation, your classes will become tightly coupled. Let me prove that. Let me open my IDE. Let me develop a project. Let me tell you what is the problem with the easier relationship and has a relationship. Now, here the entire Spring Core module, is going to talk about how one Java class method can access another Java class method without inheritance and without composition, without easier relationship, without has a relationship. One Java class method should access another Java class method. For that, Spring people provided three concepts: IOC container, dependency injection, auto wiring. If you use IOC container, dependency injection, auto wiring, then you no need to go for easier relationship. You no need to go for has a relationship. Without extending the properties, without creating the object, one Java class method can access another Java class method. If without inheritance, without object creation, if one Java class method can access another Java class method, then those classes are loosely coupled. If you use EZA or if you use has a, the classes are tightly coupled. Always we need to develop our application with the loosely coupling. That means my Java class should be able to access another Java class method without inheritance and without creating the object. Are you guys able to follow me? So now in a project, how many classes will be available? How many classes will be available in a project, guys? In a project, multiple classes will be available. Some classes we are going to call as controller classes. What is the responsibility of the controller? What is the responsibility of the controllers? Controllers are responsible to handle request and response. And how many, what is a service class? Business logic. My service classes will contain the business logic. What is a DAO? Data access object. The class which contains persistence logic, it is called as a DAO. With the collection of all these classes, our project will be ready. When user send a request, it will go to controller. From the controller, it will go to service. From the service, it will go to DAO. Multiple classes will be available. When we are developing 300, 400 classes in the project, those classes are dependent on other classes. Those classes are independent. One class is dependent on the other class, or one class is independent on the other class. Classes are dependent. Controller should talk to service. Service should talk to DAO. That means one class is dependent on the another class. When the one class is dependent on the other class, the class which we are calling is called as a target. Target class is responsible to call the another class method, that is called dependent. Here I am taking the example of car class and engine class. My target is I want to drive the car. If I want to drive the car, we should start the engine. So car is dependent on the engine. Car is called as a target class. Engine is called as a dependent class. Target and dependent. How a target class can access dependent class method? Either you extend the properties or you create the object. What is the meaning of extending the properties? Subclass and superclass. Subclass can access superclass methods directly. Okay, one Java class can access the methods of another Java class by using easier relationship. Okay, that is one option. What is the second option? What is the second option? Has a relationship. What is the meaning of a has a relationship? You create the object for the engine and you call the engine class start method. One Java class can access another Java class by using inheritance or by creating the object. But if you go for inheritance or if you go for object creation, your classes will become tightly coupled. Your classes will become tightly coupled. Is it recommended or not recommended? Not recommended. Then what we need to do? Without extending the properties, without creating the object, one Java class method should be able to access another Java class method. That's where Spring Core module comes into picture. So if you can develop a project without Spring Core module also. In the servlets and JDBC, we are able to develop a project without the Spring Core module. But what is the problem? We are directly creating the object. We are directly creating the object and we are calling the method. But from now onwards, I don't want to create the object. I don't want to extend the properties. But still, my classes should be able to communicate with the other classes. That is the target. That is what we are going to do in the real time. We need to develop our classes with loosely coupling. What is the meaning of loosely coupling? One class should not dependent on the another class. One class should not dependent on the other class. Now, let me develop one simple project, guys. Let me create one simple Java project. Just car class and engine class. New normal Java project. Java project. So let me create one simple project as car application. I'm creating car application. Okay. So inside this car application, I'm going to create one simple class called engine. Okay. Let me take a class called engine in dot Ashok IT package engine. So engine class is available. Inside the engine class, I'm going to write public integer start method. Public integer start method. Here some logic will be available. System.out.println engine starting. Okay. And it is going to return a positive number or a negative number. If it returns a positive number, that means engine started successfully. Any doubts on this class? A simple Java class I'm creating. In that Java class, I'm writing one method called start method. For that start method, I'm taking integer as a return type. It can return a positive number or negative number. If it is a positive number, engine started. If it is a negative number, engine not started. Now, let me create one more class called car class. New class car. Car class is available. Inside the car class, I'm writing a method called drive method. I want to drive the car. Look at the diagram. I am taking engine class with the start method. I'm taking car class with the drive method. How to drive the car? In order to drive the car, what we need to do? What I need to do in order to drive the car? I need to start the engine. Engine start is available in the other class. Car class should start the engine. So one Java class method should access another Java class method. What is the first option we have? What is the first option we have? Extends engine. I'm extending from the engine. So then what I can do? Super dot start. So when I am extending the properties, car class is becoming a subclass, engine class is becoming a super class. Now subclass methods can access super class methods directly. So I'm going to get the status. Now if the status is a positive number, if status is greater than or equal to 1, then system.out.println, I can say journey started. System.out.println, journey started. Status is a positive number. If it is a positive number, my journey engine is started. If it is a positive number, engine is started, then my journey is started. Else, system.out.println failed to start the engine. Failed to start the engine. So this is my project, guys. I have a car class. I have a engine class. I want to drive the car. If I want to drive the car, car should start the engine. If engine is started, my journey will start. If engine is not started, my journey will not be started. Are you guys clear with this one? Now, can you see any problem in this development? Am I able to achieve my target? I want to drive the car. If I want to drive the car, I need to start the engine. Am I able to do that? Am I able to do that? Yes, I'm able to do that. But any problem? Any problem? First problem, in future, if I want to extend the properties from any class, can I do that? No. Why? Why I cannot do that? Java will not support for multiple inheritance. The first thing is we are closing the gate for inheritance. With today, inheritance concept completed in the class. From tomorrow, can I use any inheritance here? Java does not support for multiple inheritance. My class is extending the properties from the engine. I cannot extend the properties from any other class in the future. My class extending the properties from the engine. In future, my class cannot extend the properties from any other class. I am closing the gate for inheritance. So inheritance is not possible for me from today. Okay, Java class can extend the properties at most from only one class. That is the first problem. And second problem, the second problem, suppose if I make any changes to start method return type, if I make any changes to start method return type, my car class is going to work or my car class is going to fail. If I make any changes to the engine, is it affecting on the car? It is not affecting on the car. Earlier, my engine method return type is integer. Now, I change it that return type to long value. What is the problem? What is the problem? That is called tightly coupling. If you make the changes in one class, it is affecting on the other class functionality because those two classes are tightly coupled. If you develop a project like this, output will come. But tomorrow, if somebody modify engine class, then your car class will be affected. Tomorrow, if somebody modify the service class, your controller will be affected. Tomorrow, if somebody modify DAO class, your service class will be affected. So tell me, is it recommended to develop the classes like this in the project? What is the problem if I develop the classes like this in the project? What is the problem if I develop classes like this in the project? Come on. The classes are tightly coupled. Car class is tightly coupled with the engine class. Tomorrow, if any changes happened in the engine class, it will affect on the car class. And car class cannot extend the properties from any other class in the future. These are the two problems. These are the two problems. One Java class wants to communicate with the another Java class. One Java class can communicate with the another Java class in two ways, guys. One is by using inheritance. Another one is by using object creation. When you go for the inheritance, there are two problems available. What are those two problems? What are those two problems? We can't extend the properties from any other class in the future. That is the first problem. What is the second problem? If any changes happened in the dependent class, it will affect on the target class functionality. Are you clear with my point? Yes. Now, so inheritance is not recommended here. Inheritance is not recommended here. My car cannot extend the properties from any other class in the future. That is the first problem. If any changes happened in the car class, sorry, engine class, it is affecting on the car class. Because of these two problems, I will not use inheritance in the project. Are you guys getting my point? Because of these two problems, we are not going to use inheritance when one class wants to communicate with the another class. You can do it, but the classes are tightly coupled. What is the meaning of tightly coupled? If one class functionality modified, it will affect on the other class functionality. That is called tightly coupling. Are you clear with my point? Now, can you tell me second option for that? Can you tell me what is the second option for this? Instead of extending the properties, can we create the object? Instead of extending the properties, can we create the object? Yes. Now, remove this. So, what I will do here, instead of extending the properties, I'm going to create engine eng is equal to new engine. Then I'm going to call engine dot start method, which is going to give me some status. Which is going to give me some status. Now, first problem is resolved. What is the first problem? When I go for inheritance, what is the first problem? Come on. We cannot extend the properties from any other class in the future. That problem is resolved. Now my car class can extend the properties from any other class. First problem resolved. What is the second problem? If any changes happened in the engine class, still it will affect on the car class. So still second problem is available. And there is a third problem also. Today, only one engine is available for my car. Tomorrow, there is an advance in the technology, advanced technology coming into market. My car will support for petrol engine and diesel engine. Currently, one car will have only one engine. In future, maybe after 5 years, maybe after 10 years, maybe they may release a car with two engines. They may release a car with the two engines. So sometimes I want to go with the diesel engine. Sometimes I want to go with the petrol engine. Now, if I want to make the engine change, then do I need to change my car or not? Car functionality should I change or not? So currently, my car is supporting for only one engine. Tomorrow, there will be a chance that one car will support for two engines. Driver can choose whether to start the car with the petrol engine or start the car with the diesel engine. If I create the object, always my car will talk to only one engine. If I want to change from one engine to other engine, I need to change the functionality in the car class. So still, car class is tightly coupled with the engine class. Still, car class is tightly coupled with the engine class. So now, is it recommended to go for inheritance? Is it recommended to go for inheritance? Not recommended. Why it is not recommended to go for inheritance? Why it is not recommended to go for inheritance? Come on. First of all, why we are going for inheritance? One Java class should talk to another Java class. What are the options we have when one Java class want to talk to another Java class? Two options available. One is called inheritance. Second one is called composition. Composition, nothing but object creation. If I go for inheritance, what is the problem? This is my inheritance option. If I go for inheritance, what is the problem? What is the problem with the inheritance, guys? Tightly coupling. What is the meaning of tightly coupling? What is the meaning of tightly coupling? What is the meaning of tightly coupling? If you modify dependent class functionality, it will affect on the target class functionality. So inheritance is not recommended. When controller wants to talk to service, don't go for inheritance. When service want to talk to DAO, don't go for inheritance, because in my project, multiple classes will be available, 100 controllers, 50 services, 200 DAOs. Controllers want to talk to services. Services want to talk to DAOs. Don't go for inheritance when one class wants to access another class method. So if I don't go for inheritance, what is the second option? What is the second option? Object creation. Okay, object creation is called as composition. If I go for composition, classes are loosely coupled, classes are still tightly coupled, classes are still tightly coupled. See here, I'm going for composition. That means instead of extending the properties, I'm going to create the object, remove the inheritance and create the object. Engine eng is equal to new engine, then eng dot start. Eng dot start. I'm able to create the object. I'm able to call the method. My classes are loosely coupled. My classes are still tightly coupled. Still my classes are tightly coupled. Why my classes are tightly coupled? Come on. My car always will use only one engine. My car always will use only one engine. Tomorrow, if I want to change from one engine to other engine, is it possible or not possible? No, because my car is directly creating the object for the engine to call the method. So here, my project having petrol engine and a diesel engine. My car is having petrol engine and diesel engine. Sometimes I want to go with the petrol engine. Sometimes I want to go with the diesel engine. Now, that dynamic switch is not possible. That dynamic switch is not possible because we are directly creating the object for only one engine. So still our classes are tightly coupled. Are you clear with my point? What is the meaning of tightly coupling? What is the meaning of tightly coupling? One Java class directly accessing another Java class, then that is called tightly coupling. Is it recommended to go with the tightly coupling? Not recommended. Why? Tomorrow, when we modify one class functionality, it will affect on the other class functionality. In the project, 300 classes, 500 classes, 1000 classes will be available. 20, 30 developers are working in the project. If I change one class in my project, it will affect other functionalities in the project. So today, just two classes are available. I'm able to understand when I change engine, car is affected because only two classes. I developed these two classes. Tomorrow, 30 developers are there in the project. 5,000 classes available in the project. If you change one class functionality, it will affect other developers functionality. That's why tightly coupling is not required. Always we need to develop the classes with the loosely coupling. If I want to develop the classes with the loosely coupling, I should not go for inheritance. I should not go for composition. Without EZA, without has a, one Java class should be able to access another Java class. So that's then we can develop the project with the loosely coupling. Loosely coupling means if I change one class functionality, it should not affect on the other class functionality. And my class should be able to choose any engine dynamically. Without modifying the target class, we should be able to change the dependent class. Are you clear? So now tell me what you understood as of now. Today, what you understood? What you understood? Online people, what is the conclusion? Offline also. What is the conclusion? No conclusion, huh? No conclusion, huh? What you understood? Huh. The first point that we understood is Project contains multiple classes. What is the first point, guys? Project contains multiple classes. What classes will be available inside the project? What? Then second one, multiple services will be available. What is the third one? Multiple DAOs will be available. What is the responsibility of the controllers? To handle request and response. What is the purpose of services? Business logic. Business logic will be available in the services. What is the DAO? In the DAO, persistence logic will be available. So now all these classes are independent or dependent. Dependent. How can you say? Controller class method, controllers should call service class methods. Controller class methods should call service class methods. So can I say controllers are dependent on services? Can I say controllers are dependent on the services? Yes. When you go for layered architecture, controllers will be available, services will be available, DAOs will be available. Request will come to the controller. Controller should call the service method. So here, controller is a target, service is a dependent. Controllers are dependent on the services. Then, when the controller call the service method, what service should do? Service class methods should call DAO class methods. Service class methods should call the DAO class method. What is the meaning of that? Service class services are dependent on DAOs. So now classes are independent, classes are dependent. Classes are dependent. If you see architecture, when you go for the layered architecture, from the UI, request will come to the controller. Controller should call the service method. That means controller is dependent on the service. Service should call the DAO method. Service is dependent on the DAO. Now that is what I am writing here. In a project, multiple classes will be available. Some classes are called as controller classes. Some classes are called as service classes. Some classes are called as DAO classes. Controllers are responsible to handle request and response. Services are responsible to handle business logic. DAOs are responsible to handle persistence logic. Controller class methods should call service class methods. Controllers are dependent on the service. Services are dependent on the DAO class methods. Are you guys able to understand? Now, so when the classes are dependent, how one Java class can access another Java class? How one Java class can access another Java class method? How one Java class method can access another Java class method? What is the option we have? What is the option we have? We are having two options, guys. One Java class method can access another Java class method in two ways. What are the two ways available? One is by using inheritance. One is by using inheritance, which is called easier relation. What is the second one? By composition. By composition, that is called Hazier relation. Now, if you see here, this is my engine class, guys. Here I am taking my engine class. Let me go for easier relation first. Okay, what is the meaning of easier relation? One Java class is going to extend the properties from another Java class. One Java class will extend the properties from another Java class. Simple extends engine. When I am extending from the engine, directly I can call like this super.start. I can call super.start. When I call super.start, my class is directly accessing another class functionality. So classes are tightly coupled, classes are loosely coupled, classes are tightly coupled, classes are loosely coupled, tightly coupled. What is the meaning of tightly coupling? What is the meaning of tightly coupling, guys? If you change one class functionality, it will affect on the other class functionality. Okay, inheritance is not recommended. Inheritance is not recommended. What is the other option we have? What is the other option we have? Composition. What is the meaning of composition? What is the meaning of composition? You need to create, instead of extending the properties, you go for the object creation. Instead of you are extending the properties, you go for object creation. That is called has a relation. Instead of extending the properties, you create the object and you call the method. So if I go for composition, tightly coupling problem resolved, tightly coupling problem not resolved, still that problem not resolved. If I make any changes to the engine, it will affect on the car. If I make any changes to the engine, it will affect on the car. And tomorrow if I want to change the engine, again we need to change the car class. That's why these classes are tightly coupled. So that means if I go for conclusion, if I go for is a or as a, still my classes are tightly coupled. With is a and as a, with is a and as a, with is a relation and has a relation, our classes are tightly coupled. With is a and has a relation, our classes are tightly coupled. Developing the classes with tightly coupling is not recommended because project maintenance will become difficult. In a project, 10,000 classes available. Some developers are working in Hyderabad, some developers in the Bangalore, some developers in the Chennai. Chennai developer modified one class, then what will happen? Project is gone. So many functionalities will be affected if there is a small change in the code. So that's why we should not develop the classes with the tightly coupling. Always we need to develop the classes with the loosely coupling. Are you guys getting my point? With the easy and has a relation, our classes are tightly coupled. So classes with the developing classes with tightly coupling, developing the classes with tightly coupling not recommended. Okay, what is the recommended option? Always, what is the recommended option? Always we need to develop our classes with the loosely coupling. Always develop our classes with the loosely coupling. To develop classes with loosely coupling, we will use Spring Core module. What is the purpose of the Spring Core module? What is the purpose of Spring Core module? Spring Core module is used to develop the classes with the loosely coupling. That means one Java class can access another Java class method without inheritance, without creating the object, if I go for Spring Core module. How can we do that by using Spring Core module? IOC container, dependency injection, auto wiring. If I use these three concepts in the project, my classes will be loosely coupled. No need to go for inheritance. No need to go for composition. When one Java class want to access another Java class method. Are you clear with my point? Now, just read the points once. What we discussed today. Come on. Project contains multiple classes. Controller, service, DAOs will be available. Controller methods should call the service class methods. That means controllers are dependent on the services. Service class method should call the DAO class method. That means services are dependent on the DAOs. How? When the classes are dependent, how one class can access another class method? For that, we have two options. One is inheritance option. Second one is composition option. Inheritance is called as easier relation. Composition is called as a relation. In the easier relation, we are extending the properties directly. In the as-a relation, we are creating the object. If I go with easy or as-a, our classes are tightly coupled. When the dependent class is modified, it will affect on the target class. That is called tightly coupling. So when there is a tightly coupling, maintenance of the project will become very difficult. That's why we need to develop the classes with the loosely coupling. How to develop the classes with the loosely coupling? By using Spring Core module. So if you use the Spring Core module, you no need to extend the properties. You no need to create the object. One class can access another class method without extending the properties, without creating the object. How can we do that? We are going to learn in the tomorrow session. Are you clear with my point? Any questions, anyone? No. I'm going to upload these notes into website so you can download that. Okay. Yeah. Guys, same file I am uploading as of now. So daily, don't expect a different file every day. Okay. So for one module, one file will be available. Now, Spring introduction file is available. I will just update that file. Latest content will be available. Latest content will be available. Sir, every day new file is not available. So every day new file will not be available, guys. So same file will be uploaded. For the Spring Core module, one single file will be available. And for the WebMVC, one file. For JPA, one file. Every day I will be updating the same file. Now, if you go for this SpringBoot microservice view notes, if you click on the download option, you can see the notes till today. Whatever the notes I am writing, that complete notes will be available. You guys can download that file. Got my point? Good. Thank you. Any questions, anyone? Anybody having any questions? You need the diagram? I will share that. Okay. Any other questions, anyone from offline? You understand what is the tightly coupling and what is loosely coupling? Which one is recommended? Always we need to develop the classes with the loosely coupling. Why we need to develop classes with the loosely coupling? Why we need to develop the classes with the loosely coupling? Project maintenance will become easy. If you go for tightly coupling, project maintenance will become difficult. So tomorrow we will understand how to develop the classes with the loosely coupling. Are you clear? Good. Thank you, guys. With this I'm stopping. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you. Online students, anybody having any questions?